Right. So, I planted carrots last spring following advice from 3 different gardening books. They all rotted. Then my neighbor, who's been growing veg for 40 years, told me one simple thing that changed everything. And honestly, I felt a bit silly for not knowing it sooner. Stick around because I'm sharing exactly what she said, plus the vegetables that actually thrive in our unpredictable British weather without costing you a fortune. Welcome back if you've been here before. Brilliant to see you again. And if you're new to Garden Minter, hey, lovely meet you. This is where we keep gardening affordable, practical, and honestly, a lot less stressful than those fancy magazines make it out to be. I'm here to help you grow food that actually works in our climate, not some fantasy version of it. Now, before we dig in, and I promise we're getting straight to those vegetables in just a second, do me a quick favor? Hit that subscribe button if you want more no-nonsense growing tips that actually save you money. Seriously, it helps me keep making these for you. All right, let's get into it. Ed? So here's the thing about growing veg in the UK. Our weather is moody. One week it's glorious sunshine, the next it's bucketing down rain, and sometimes both happen on the same Tuesday afternoon. That's why choosing the right vegetables isn't just helpful. It's essential if you don't want to waste time, money, and frankly, your patience. I'm breaking this down into vegetables that'll give you the best results without needing a greenhouse, fancy equipment, or a gardening degree. These are the ones that forgive our weather tantrums and still produce plenty. 1. Broad beans, the tough survivor. Let's start with broad beans, and honestly, these deserve more appreciation. They're like the friend who shows up no matter what the weather's doing. You can plant them in autumn or early spring. They handle frost better than most of us handle Monday mornings, and they'll actually improve your soil while they're at it. Here's what makes them brilliant for tight budgets. One packet of seeds costs about the same as a single coffee, but you'll get months of harvests. Plus, they don't need supports like runner beans. They're sturdy enough on their own. The secret my neighbor told me? Plant them in blocks rather than rows. Sounds odd, but they support each other against wind, and you get better pollination. Game changer. 2. Potatoes. More than just spuds. I know, potatoes sound basic. But hear me out. Growing your own means you get varieties supermarkets don't stock. Ever tried a pink fir apple potato? Tastes completely different from what you buy in bags. They're also ridiculously flexible. Got a garden bed? Perfect. Only have a balcony? Grow them in old compost bags with drainage holes. I've even seen people use those big blue IKEA bags. The timing matters though. First, earlies go in March. Second, earlies in April. Main crop varieties by late April. This spreads your harvest from June right through to October. No feast or famine situation. Budget tip. Don't buy expensive seed potatoes for your first try. Get organic ones from the shop, let them sprout, and plant those. Yes, certified seed potatoes reduce disease risk, but for beginners experimenting, Shopbot works fine. 3. Courgettes, the generous growers. If you've never grown courgettes, prepare yourself. One plant will produce so many that you'll be giving them to neighbors, colleagues, and possibly strangers at the bus stop. They love our summers, even the mediocre ones, and they're incredibly straightforward. Give them decent soil, regular water, and they'll reward you from July onwards. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Pick them small. Those massive marrows you see at village fetes, they're basically what happens when you go on holiday and forget about your courgette plant. Smaller ones taste infinitely better, and the plant keeps producing more. Want to save money? Start them from seed indoors in late April or May. One seed packet gives you way more plants than you'll probably need, and you can share seedlings with friends. Quick pause. If you're finding this useful, drop a comment below telling me what you're planning to grow this year. I read every single one, and honestly, I get loads of ideas from you lot. And if you haven't liked the video yet, go on, give it a tap. It genuinely helps more people find this stuff. Right back to it. 4. Lettuce, the continuous cropper. Forget buying those plastic-wrapped salad bags that go slimy in 3 days. Lettuce is possibly the easiest thing you'll ever grow, and you can do it almost year-round with the right varieties. The approach that works? Succession planting. Instead of sowing a whole row at once, plant a small handful of seeds every 2 weeks from March through August. You'll have fresh leaves constantly rather than 50 lettuces ready at the same time. Cut and come again varieties are your best friend here. Sow them densely, snip what you need with scissors, and they'll keep regrowing. One sowing gives you weeks of salads. Cold frame or cloche. You can keep harvesting into winter. But even without those, you'll manage spring through autumn easily. 5. Runner beans, the climbers that deliver. These are absolute workhorses. One row of runner beans will keep you supplied from July until the first frost, and they're practically showing off while doing it with those gorgeous red flowers. They do need support. Bamboo canes in a wigwam shape work perfectly, and you can reuse them for years. Yes, there's that initial setup, but afterwards it's just plant, water, and pick. The flavor of homegrown runner beans versus shop-bought? Completely different league. They're sweet, tender, and you can actually eat them without your jaw getting tired from chewing. Money-saving hack. Save seeds from your best plants at the end of the season. Let a few pods mature completely, dry them out, and you've got free seeds for next year. 6. Kale, the winter warrior. While everything else is giving up when autumn arrives, kale is just getting started. It actually tastes better after a frost. Something about the cold converts starches to sugars. You can harvest leaf from October right through to April, which is exactly when shop-bought greens cost the most. One plant keeps producing for months if you pick the lower leaves and let the top keep growing. Different varieties offer different flavors. Cavolo Nero looks dramatic and has this lovely texture. Curly kale is the classic. Red Russian is milder and prettier. Try a couple and see what you prefer. Starting them is cheap as chips. Seeds are inexpensive and they germinate reliably. Plant them in June or July for winter harvests. 7. Radishes, the quick wins. Need motivation? Plant radishes. They're ready in 3 to 4 weeks, which gives you that psychological boost when you're waiting for everything else to grow. They fill gaps between slower crops, they practically grow themselves, and kids love them because they get results fast. The trick is to keep sowing small amounts regularly. They don't store well, so little and often beats one massive sowing. French breakfast radishes are milder than the round red ones. Try both and see what you prefer. 8. Onions, the storage champions. Onions from sets, those little baby onions, are brilliantly reliable. Plant them in early spring, barely do anything to them all summer, and harvest in August. Once dried properly, they'll store for months. I'm still using onions from last September's harvest. That's serious value when you think about how many recipes need onions. The drying process matters. Lay them on racks in a dry, airy place until the skins are papery and the tops are completely dead. Then store them somewhere cool and dark. Space-saving tip. You can tuck onion sets between other plants since they don't take much room. 9. Beetroot, the underestimated multitasker. Beetroot gets overlooked, which is a shame because it's ridiculously easy and you can eat both the roots and the leaves. The baby leaves are delicious in salads, and the roots roast beautifully, go into salads, even work in chocolate cakes if you're feeling adventurous. They handle our climate brilliantly. Sow from April onwards, and you'll harvest from summer through autumn. They're also not fussy about soil, though they prefer it slightly alkaline. Golden beetroot doesn't stain your hands or chopping board like the red varieties, which might matter if you're cooking in a rental with a light color countertop. 10. Peas, the sweet reward. There's something ridiculously satisfying about picking peas straight from the plant and eating them raw. They taste nothing like frozen peas. They're actually sweet and crisp. Mange tout and sugar snap varieties let you eat the whole pod, which means more harvest from the same space. They're also really pretty growing up supports. Early sowings in March or April give you June harvests. Later sowings extend that into summer. They do prefer cooler weather, so in our climate, they're actually perfect. The one thing they insist on is support. Pea netting, twigs, anything they can grab onto with those little tendrils. Before we wrap this up, I want to say thanks for sticking with me through all these vegetables. If you got value from this, seriously, hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more practical growing advice coming, and it'd be great to have you along for it. Comments, likes, all that stuff genuinely helps me reach more people who need budget-friendly gardening tips. So there you have it. 10 vegetables that'll actually thrive in British weather without demanding fancy equipment or draining your wallet. The real secret? Start with a few of these, see what works in your specific garden, and build from there. That advice from my neighbor, that changed everything with my carrots. She said our soil was too heavy and fresh manure made it worse. Carrots need light, sandy soil. Once I added grit and compost a year before planting, they grew perfectly. Sometimes it's the simple things. Gardening doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It just needs to be appropriate for where you actually live, not where some glossy magazine thinks you should live. What are you planting this year? Tell me in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who's thinking about growing their own food. Happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!